My name is Daniel Briggs. I served 12 years in the U.S. Army, most of them overseas. I never thought betrayal would hit me harder at home than it ever did in combat zones. But life? Life has a dark sense of humor. I was deployed in Al Udeid. When my wife Carla called me, tears in her voice, and then she said the word that made my chest hollow out in a second. Cancer. Stage 3 lymphoma, she told me. Her voice cracked in the middle of the sentence, and I felt the ground drop beneath me, even though I was standing still. Here's the thing. When you love someone, the line between trust and denial, it gets blurry, especially when you're halfway across the world. I didn't ask questions. I didn't ask for scans or second opinions. She said she had doctors in Boise. Said she didn't want to be a burden, didn't want to distract me from the mission, but I insisted. I sent more money, redirected savings, opened access to our retirement account. In 6 months, I wired her over $40,000. She said chemo wasn't cheap, that she'd stopped working. The insurance was a mess. I even offered to come home, compassionate leave. She said no, told me to focus, told me she had it handled. She avoided video calls. Said the chemo left her exhausted, said she didn't want me to see her like that. I respected it. I believed it. I sent care packages. I got my squad to sign a get well banner. I prayed, harder than I had in years. Not once did I think she was lying, not until that night. Sunday night. Barracks were quiet. Torres, my buddy, walks over with his laptop, says, "Hey man, isn't this your wife?" He turns the screen. It's Carla. An Instagram story, smiling, on a beach, holding a cocktail. Hashtag? Santorini vibes. At first, my brain didn't even register it. I thought maybe it was an old post. Perhaps it was filters. Maybe she was just trying to stay positive. But no, the timestamp was clear. That post? It was from the day before. And just like that, the floor didn't just drop. It vanished. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling and ran through every conversation, every word, every dollar. The next morning, I checked out our bank account. It was empty. Every cent is gone. My wife hadn't just lied about having cancer. She hadn't just taken advantage of me while I was deployed. She'd built a whole second life, funded by betrayal, and now? She was sipping drinks on a Greek island with someone who wasn't me. This wouldn't end in an argument. No. This would end in a reckoning. I didn't explode, didn't shout, didn't send a single angry message. That's not who I am. My father taught me something long ago. Never draw your weapon until you know exactly where you're aiming. I lived by that rule in uniform, and I was going to live by it now. So I went silent. I stopped texting Carla, didn't comment on her posts, didn't call. I didn't even log into our shared cloud account, even though I knew I could find more dirt there. I didn't need more yet. What I needed was a plan. First move? I called Alan, an old Army buddy turned private investigator in Idaho. I didn't explain everything, just told him I needed background work done, quietly, cleanly, and fast. He didn't ask questions, said, "Send me what you've got. Give." Me 3 days. Then I got to work. I started pulling old bank records, travel receipts, screen grabbing every message, every transaction, every wire transfer. I built a timeline, cross-referenced every detail. I wasn't just reacting, I was documenting, because heartbreak doesn't hold up in court. But paper trails, they do. Meanwhile, I kept my game face on at the base, ran drills, led patrols. Coached the rookies. If anyone noticed I was quieter than usual, they chalked it up to fatigue. No one pried. Good. 2.5 days later, Alan called me back. "Got something," he said. Actually, got a lot. Carla wasn't in Boise. Not most of the time, anyway. Her mail, redirected to a P.O. box. Her so-called chemo sessions, non-existent. Not a single appointment under her name at the clinic she claimed. And the job, she said, She was too sick to show up for. She quit. 3 months ago. Alan kept going. Said he found travel itineraries, Greece, Italy, Bali, all within the past 6 months. All paid in cash or with prepaid cards. She didn't just lie about being sick. She built a vacation empire off my deployment, but he wasn't done yet. She's not traveling alone, Alan said. Name's Vincent, finance guy from Portland, divorced, mid-30s, real polished. I found photos, jet skis, beaches, fancy dinners. They're not hiding, not even trying. I closed my eyes, not from anger, from focus. All right, I said. Now we get to work. Alan's intel was solid, but I needed more. Not for closure, for clarity, for control. The kind of control you don't get by confronting someone in rage, but by building a file so complete, so irrefutable that there's nowhere left for them to run. I spent every spare moment I had digging. Deployment was winding down, but my mind never clocked out. I reached out to people back home. Neighbors, old friends, even Carla's gym buddy from years ago. No accusations, just questions dressed as curiosity. A neighbor mentioned a strange car parked in our driveway every other weekend. Same silver SUV, tinted windows. Another one said Carla had stopped attending family events. Claimed she was too weak to be around crowds, too drained from the chemo. Then came the message that shifted everything. Anonymous, sent through Facebook. All it said was, "If you think she's sick, she's playing you." I sat with that one for a while, didn't delete it, didn't respond, just stared at the screen until the text burned into memory. I started digging deeper. Public records, online databases, and old emails. Found something that made my stomach drop. A consultation request submitted to a local divorce attorney. Date, 3 weeks before she ever called me with the cancer diagnosis. I opened that PDF twice, 3 times, just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating. She'd already been planning to erase me. Alan kept feeding me data. Carla wasn't in Boise. She'd spent less than a week there in the past 3 months. The rest of the time? She was on the move. Italy, Croatia, Bali. Vincent was in every itinerary, every receipt. Sometimes listed as companion, other times as the cardholder. He wasn't a bystander. He was the architect, and he had a past. Civil suits in 2 states. Both quiet, both settled. Women who dropped off the radar after accusing him of manipulation and theft. No charges, just silence. The kind of silence money buys. That's when I stopped wondering whether Carla was a victim of his charm or a partner in the crime. Because even if she was seduced into it, she stayed. She spent. She lied. And she smiled through every second of it. I started compiling everything into an encrypted drive. Photos, screenshots, bank records. A timeline so precise a lawyer could use it as a roadmap. Alan helped me set up cloud backups in a local storage vault. If anything happened to me, the story wouldn't die with it. Then one night, I found something else. Carla's Pinterest board. It wasn't private. It was filled with images of wedding dresses, exotic beaches, couples' tattoos. Not with me, with him. She was building a future while telling me she might not live to see Christmas. I stared at the screen for a long time, then I saved every image. That night, I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I strategized, because this wasn't heartbreak. It was war. And I was done playing defense. I landed back in the States on a cloudy Thursday. Civilian clothes, nothing flashy, just a duffel bag, my phone, and a folder full of betrayal. I didn't go home. I didn't call anyone. I rented a car under an alias and drove 6 hours north, to a small cabin owned by a friend from my first unit. Quiet place, off the grid. Perfect for what I needed, time and silence. I spread everything out across the table, photos, statements, timestamps, and account records. It looked like a tactical briefing. In a way it was. I'd led missions in Kandahar, Iraq. I knew how to build an operation from nothing. Now the mission was personal. The first thing I did was contact a lawyer, Cassandra Wells, a former Navy JAG who handles private military divorce and fraud cases. She was direct, efficient, and sharp as a knife. I gave her the rundown and dropped the first batch of evidence into her encrypted inbox. 10 minutes later, she called me. "This is bad," she said. "For her." We filed an emergency motion to freeze our joint assets. I also authorized Cassandra to pursue a full audit of all accounts tied to my name, including any that had been created or accessed while I was deployed. By the next morning, she had signatures ready, motions to seize documentation, petitions, to subpoena travel and medical records, and paperwork for a civil fraud suit that would hit like a hammer. Meanwhile, Alan was still feeding me intel. He tracked down receipts from a boutique hotel in Venice. Vincent had signed the check-in form himself. Carla listed herself as Mrs. Conway. New name, new persona, same fraud. I added it to the wall. Next came the family. I scheduled a Zoom call. My side of the family, some of hers, just the ones who'd been close to us. No drama, no rage, just facts. I showed them the photos, played the video of Carla sipping wine in Santorini. I walked them through the timeline. Some wept, others went quiet. But when it ended, nobody had questions. Nobody defended her. I wasn't finished. Carla had mentioned a wellness retreat coming up, said she needed it for recovery. I tracked it down. Santa Barbara, private beachfront, 4-day package, couples welcome. Vincent would be there. Perfect. Called Cassandra. We coordinated with a local process server. Served documents would be waiting the moment Carla stepped off the shuttle. But I wanted more than legal papers. I wanted confirmation. I booked a room nearby, packed lenses, recording gear, and backup drives. I knew the layout of the resort before I even arrived, had the security schedule, the best angles, every detail, every step. I had it. Because when you've served in combat, you learn something crucial. The best victories are earned before the battle ever begins. This one, it was already won. Santa Barbara greeted me with sunshine and palm trees, but I wasn't there to relax. I checked into a no-frills motel down the road from the retreat, small, quiet, with just enough anonymity to keep me out of sight. My rental car was generic. My gear, packed with care, long lens, audio recorder, spare batteries, backup SD cards. I was ready. Carla and Vincent arrived at the retreat that Friday afternoon. I watched them from across the street, seated at an outdoor cafe with a clear line of sight. Carla wore a white linen dress, oversized sunglasses, and the kind of smile you wear when you think the world owes you nothing. Vincent? Button-up open at the chest, smug like always. They looked like a catalog ad. Or a lie. They didn't even try to hide it. Laughing, touching, full PDA. I snapped photos. Recorded footage. Time-stamped every frame. This wasn't just revenge. This was documentation. By nightfall, I had them at dinner. I stayed outside, filming through a restaurant window with a long lens. The server brought a bottle of wine. Vincent, toasted to freedom. Carla raised her glass and laughed. That sound, burned into my memory. Saturday was even better. They went on a guided yoga walk, held hands through the meditation garden, and attended a cooking class. All of it recorded. I wasn't following, I was observing. Detached. Professional. I'd led recon missions more dangerous than this. Sunday morning, Carla stepped out onto the resort's patio, phone in hand, recording a video for her social feed. Healing is a journey, she said, the ocean behind her. Sometimes you have to leave behind what hurts you to find peace. I recorded it from a second angle. Different camera. Better audio. Then I texted Cassandra. Serve them. 30 minutes later, the process server walked across the resort grounds like he was delivering a pizza. No drama, no shouting. He handed the envelope to Carla with a polite nod. Her smile fell instantly. She opened it. Her lips moved as she read the words: fraud complaint, civil suit, asset seizure, subpoena. Her hands started to shake. Vincent leaned over to look. His face changed, rigid, then angry. I kept filming. A few minutes later, they were escorted from the property. Policy violation. Management had already been notified by Cassandra's office. They gathered their things. Carla looked around, stunned. Vincent stormed ahead. No one said a word to them. I didn't move until they were gone. Then I packed up, left the motel, and drove north. Uploaded everything to our encrypted server. Sent Cassandra the final folder. Confirmation. We had it all now. Legal, emotional, and financial. The next morning, Carla tried to call me twice. I let both go to voicemail. No words from Vincent. Just silence. That was fine. Silence was where I thrived. I reviewed every second of the footage again. Cross-referenced. Receipts. Double-checked timestamps. We weren't just ready to file. We were ready to bury them in facts. Carla and Vincent thought they were scripting a fantasy. Turns out, I was writing the ending. By Monday morning, Carla's voicemail was already waiting for me. Daniel, please, just talk to me. This is all a misunderstanding. I made mistakes, but this isn't what you think. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't reply. I didn't even flinch. I just saved the message, archived it into the same folder as everything else. Another entry in the story she never thought would be told. Vincent, meanwhile, was running scared. Alan tracked his flight, LAX to Miami, one way, no luggage, checked in under a different last name, classic scammer play, run before the hammer. Drops. But it was too late. Cassandra already had him listed in the complaint, and the evidence was solid. This time, the damage followed him. By Tuesday, Cassandra had filed the full civil suit. 40 pages. Fraud, theft, conspiracy, emotional, and financial damages. We didn't just file. We triggered a full financial review. Every dollar Carla touched was now under scrutiny. And then something big happened. The Boise Financial Crimes Unit opened a case. Real case. Real detectives. Real heat. Cassandra had worked with them before. Her reputation was gold. They fast-tracked an inquiry. Within days, we had subpoenas issued for travel agencies, banks, and medical clinics. She tried to disappear. Deleted her social media, changed her number, moved out of her apartment. But the internet doesn't forget, and neither do court systems. That week, people started calling me. Old friends, Carla's cousin, even one of her former co-workers. They'd seen the story, or heard about it from someone who had. One guy just said, "I always wondered about her." Another said, "We tried to warn you." I'm sorry. No one needed to apologize. The truth was out now. That was enough. She sent a letter through a mutual friend. Handwritten, claimed she was manipulated, that she never meant for it to go this far. Said she lost control. Cassandra. Read it, scanned it, and stored it. We weren't playing the sympathy game. We were playing the long game. Vincent's attorney reached out next. They were panicking. Offered a $30K settlement. No guilt, no press. We said no, we weren't doing this for a payout. We were doing it for every person who's ever been betrayed while serving. For every quiet soldier told to focus on the mission while their home life burned behind their back. Then came the hearing. Civil court. Plain room, no drama. Carla's attorney tried to dismiss the case, claimed emotional duress, blamed Vincent, blamed the stress of my deployments. The judge wasn't having it. He denied the motion, granted discovery, set deposition dates, gave Cassandra everything she asked for, and then some. Vincent folded first. He always would. Plea deal. Admitted to financial abuse, handed over emails, videos, and texts. Sold out Carla in 3 paragraphs. He was fined, restricted from financial work, and left with a record that would follow him into every job interview, from now until forever. Carla followed a week later. Confession, full restitution, surrender of all shared assets, no contact order, permanent. The moment it became real, when the judge said, "You are prohibited from contacting Mr. Briggs in any form for the remainder of your life," I didn't smile, didn't gloat. I exhaled. It was over. After the rulings were made public, the story didn't just fade, it grew. It started with a short local news segment in Boise. Veteran targeted in elaborate financial fraud by spouse during deployment. That's all it took. Within hours, the story spread. National outlets picked it up. Social feeds lit up with commentary, and by the next day it was trending on 2 veteran forums and a dozen military family pages. Some of the details were blurred, but the core message hit home. A deployed soldier was betrayed, not just emotionally, but financially, by the one person meant to hold things down back home. The headlines didn't name Carla or Vincent, but in our circles, everyone knew. Word traveled, fast. I started getting messages. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Emails, direct messages, letters. Some from strangers, others from people I hadn't heard from in years. They all said the same thing in different ways. "You weren't alone. My brother went through this. I wish I'd had the guts to fight back like you did." That last one hit me hardest. Because the truth is, I didn't feel brave. I felt broken. But I didn't let the break define me. I let it sharpen me. Vincent was now banned from any financial or consulting roles involving military families. The EE court made it official. His plea deal saved him from prison, but it branded him for life. His assets were liquidated. His firm dissolved. One by one, the doors started closing on him. Carla, on the other hand, vanished into obscurity. She moved states, changed her name, but reputation isn't something you can just shake, not when court documents are public, not when the betrayal has its own digital trail. Some of her former friends reached out, said she was trying to rebuild. I didn't answer. Meanwhile, Cassandra and I finalized everything. The last account was closed. My name cleared from every document she'd forged or abused. My credit has been restored. My pension is protected. And the ruling? It was strong. The judge's final words were clear. "Let this case be a warning. Exploiting trust for personal gain, especially during military service, will not be tolerated." Kept that quote, printed it, framed it in my office. But the most powerful result wasn't legal. It was personal. I met others like me, at VA meetings, in emails, at coffee shops, men and women who'd been cheated, used, and abandoned. And they all said the same thing. I thought I was the only one. They weren't. They never were. And neither was I. When the dust finally settled, I didn't feel victorious. I felt still. That kind of stillness you only earn after chaos. After the war. After betrayal. It's not the silence of emptiness. It's the silence of understanding. Of finality. The day the final check arrived from the settlement, I didn't cash it right away. I left it sitting on the counter while I brewed coffee and stared out the window of my cabin in Montana. It was quiet up there. Real quiet. Just trees, wind, and the sound of a creek that never asked questions. It was the kind of quiet that doesn't judge you, doesn't rush you, just lets you be. I'd sold the old house in Boise. Too many ghosts in those walls. Too many memories, where poisoned by her laugh echoing down the hallway while she planned a vacation with a stranger. That place didn't feel like mine anymore. Every room echoed with a lie. The kitchen smelled like her perfume, even after she was gone. Now, I've got something simpler. 2-bedroom cabin, 10 acres, a dog named Bishop, loyal, silent, always watching. A wood stove that smells like pine when it's burning. I do some carpentry for locals, teach wilderness skills at the VA center once a week, help other vets figure out how to start over. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. And after what I've been through, honesty is enough. Sometimes people ask if I'm bitter. I'm not. Bitter is what happens when you hold on to something that has already let go of you. I let go the moment she smiled in that Instagram story from Santorini. The moment I saw her drink to healing. That was when I stopped trying to understand and started preparing to rebuild. Do not rebuild us. Rebuild me. I kept the scar, but I didn't keep the infection. Vincent's gone, out of state. Last I heard, he's flipping crypto scams now, trying to stay one step ahead of his own reputation. Carla? I don't know. Don't care. She made her choices. I made mine. And mine brought me here. To quiet mornings, to simple meals, to nights when I actually sleep. What I do care about is this. Every once in a while, I get a letter, a message, a handshake from someone who saw the story and realized they weren't alone. A Navy wife told me I saved her marriage just by speaking out. An Air Force vet told me he pressed charges because of what he read. One guy from Kentucky said, I thought I was crazy until I saw what happened to you. And there it is. The purpose. Not revenge, not ego, not even justice, really. Just clarity, knowing the truth has weight. And sometimes all you have to do is carry it long enough for someone else to find their footing. There's a photo on my fridge, me and my squad, holding a banner that said, Get well soon, Carla, before we knew. I haven't taken it down, not to remember her, but to remember who I was when I believed. Because belief isn't weakness. Belief is what made me fight, and fighting with strategy, with integrity, with precision. That's what made me win. Some victories come without cheers. Mine came with silence and peace.